Hey, welcome back to the channel, folks. And can you believe it? This is my 100th review. I feel like I should celebrate. That's a milestone. 100 reviews, that's a milestone. And what better way to celebrate than to take it global? And what better way to take it global than with this guy? This is the Transformers Supreme Class Cybertron version of Cybertron himself, Primus. And I wanted to have a noisemaker for this, but those are birthday cake candles. That's kind of the best that I have. Sorry, but I'm not sorry about this guy. We're gonna take a look at him. We're gonna take a look at all of his modes. We're gonna take a look at him compared to a couple of key comparisons for the modern day. So stick around, sit back. We're going to have a good time taking a look at the creator of the Transformers himself, Primus. Okay, folks, welcome back, and this is your host, Dennis Moulton, aka GotBot, and as always, check me out everywhere. Like, comment, subscribe, please. I always appreciate your support. And yeah, we're looking at the planet that the Transformers come from, Cybertron, because that's what Primus transforms into. The mold is certainly, a bit aged by now. A good 10 years or so. It's been redone as Creator Primus in I think 2010, and that looked beautiful. I got this guy recently for my birthday. Starscream girlfriend found him for me on steal of a deal, and when I opened the box that he was in, I was absolutely flabbergasted. I could not believe that she had got me Primus. What can I say? Love her dearly, certainly appreciate getting him. He did not come with the Unicron head, don't care. His lights and sounds have been disconnected. Good, because I find those to be really annoying. I'm also going to point out a few key features that if you're looking for a Primus of your own, that you're going to want to watch out for, especially in the age now of, a lot of aftermarket, secondhand versions of this guy. Things that you're going to want to watch out for if you want a chance of getting him at a reasonable price, and he tends to go pretty high on the aftermarket, and understandably so. This is Cybertron. What can I say? It has a lot of spires, and you can see cities. It's a bit strange that you can see these things from space, but considering the size of the Transformers themselves, and my understanding is that Cybertron is actually supposed to be smaller than Earth. I guess it makes sense because they're bigger than us, but their planet's smaller than ours. Go figure, right? Couple of key points, of detail on here, and I'm going to say this. This has so much more detail, I think, than Unicron. You see cities here and here and here and here. There are guns in here. I like to think, and I don't know if this is true, I'm just kind of taking a guess here. I like to think that this darkened area here is probably like the Sea of Rust. I don't even know if the Sea of Rust existed when this guy was made, so who knows. But there are a couple of key points that are on this guy. Right here, this community is Iacon in the Northern Hemisphere. So there you go. That's where your Autobots are largely stationed from, and we even have what looks like, I assume, like an impact zone for a meteor, maybe. I'm not really sure what that area is, but if we go to the bottom of this guy, maybe that's although I didn't think that was the case. Maybe that's Kaon, but I thought that was elsewhere. Actually, I thought it was right on his foot. Maybe that is Kaon. Okay, so up here we have Icon, where the Autobots are. I thought this was a meteor impact. It's not. This is Kaon. Specifically, this, I guess the center of Kaon, Kolkular, as I think presented in The War Within. So, cons, bots, where my two fingers are right here. Finger here for cons, finger here for bots. And everywhere else seems kind of unnamed. You know, you still have details down here. And I love that. It's not really black. It's more of a gunmetal gray. He looks very mechanically. He does not have the same number of Minicon ports that Unicron does. There's a Minicon port here, here, here. There's a couple back here. He's not quite as loaded up with them as, you know, there's one in here. There's another one, you know, in here. He's not quite as loaded up with them as Unicron is. I love the fact that he's an actual globe, and he has these little stands that I guess are supposed to be reminiscent of spires on the planet's surface. You know, you can see him there. You want to know how he compares with Unicron in planet mode? Well, you know, it's hard to fit both of these guys on screen at once, but let's try here. You know, there they are basically. Unicron, you can tell, is certainly bigger. He's not the main focus, but you can tell that he's certainly bigger, not only because of his ring, but the mass is a little bit bigger, I think. If you were just to compare planet mass to planet mass, they are pretty similar. But I feel like Unicron is just kind of more imposing anyway. And then we have this thing. This is the Omega Lock, and you could put different cyber keys in here, because he came with that whole gimmick. This is supposed to light up when you put it in one of the Omega Lock slots. Okay, this is what allows Primus to transform. Do you need this? It is a very good idea. You can do it without it, but you're going to have something to slot in those holes to push down on the mechanisms to allow him to transform, really. Especially for a couple of key things like, oh, I don't know, getting his head up and his shoulder pads out. So if you're looking for him in the aftermarket, look to have the Omega key. You will save yourself a lot of headache. Kind of an important part. Without this, of course, there's the planet. I tend to just leave this stored up here because why not? The colors, you know, they look like they did on the Cybertron series. Do they actually look like the planet of Cybertron? Well, I think the Creator Primus has a better color scheme for that. But I mean, you have to work with what you get. And I'm perfectly fine with this. I love the detail. Absolutely love it. I love the silver that's used, the gold that's used. I love the varying blues. I even love the you know, gunmetal grays. These spires all sticking up. These are all soft rubbery plastic. Soft rubbery plastic. So honestly, they're not bad. This is mode 1. It's a planet. It looks beautiful, and I love it. You push this forward. If I'm not mistaken, you push this forward, right? Oh, sorry, you push this back. You push this back, and look what happens. These enormous, gigantic guns come out from the planet side, and you're supposed to pick this piece up, and then you have this. It's Cybertron in a battle stance mode. Alright. I mean, I can only imagine how big and powerful these enormous blasters are, because they come from a planet. Do these fire? They do, if I can remember how they fire. Oh, there you go. Yeah, they fire. There's a little button on the inside here that you press. Pretty strong, what's the word I'm looking for? You know, spring-loaded gimmick in there. Not bad. To put this back, well, of course, these should be flipped down. You know, you can put down that flap on the back and pull all this in, but the guns are probably going to kind of hit off each other, so I tend to just push it in the rest of the way like that. And there you go, you have him right back in his planet mode. There are guns on the sides. Mine don't tend to stay in that great. They tend to kind of just pop out. But the idea is that you would put a mini con here, and when you do it and you move it, these pop out. But mine kind of pop out anyway, so whatever. So we've seen two modes: planet mode and battle planet mode. Third mode is a battle station mode. Let's look at that, I guess, on the way to transforming this guy to robot mode. And I say I guess because I think you're going to see that it's kind of silly. So how do you do the battle station mode? Well, you need to begin. Oh, by the way, I'll point this out here, though I'll point it out later. See these two flaps here? These two flaps are actually his feet eventually. Important to have. If you don't have these two flaps, he's not going to be able to stand upright, and I'll show that in robot mode. And a lot of times these are missing in his aftermarket versions, and I'll show you how people sort of mask that so you won't really notice it. So how do you begin to put this guy into battle station mode? Well, you open him up as if you were going to make a robot out of him. You lift this back flap up and you basically straighten him out. If his legs come on tab, you tab them back together. I don't think I quite have this right because I don't have this section out. Pull his feet section out and then straighten his legs out. So he should be like stood up straight like this basically. And then you lay him down. Okay. Next part of this. You take your Omega lock thing and you put it in on the side of his leg and you turn his leg around like this, and you put it in on the side of his leg and you turn his leg around like this, and it brings up a bunch of guns on his legs. Next, and we're almost done with this mode, you take your Omega lock thing, you put it up here, you slide it forward, you bring these guns out, you turn them like this and flip them up like this, turn it down and flip it up, and then this is the Primus battle station mode. I feel like that this was a fan mode, and somewhere along the way for Creator Primus, Hasbro sort of latched onto it so that Primus could become a battle ship that I guess probably has propulsion and can move. Corny mode. What can I say? It's a corny mode. If you like it, hey, cool. I mean, you're entitled to like it. I don't think it... I feel like it's a stretch. There we go. I feel like it's a stretch. And that's all I'm going to say about it. Is the detailing nice? Sure it is. But I still feel like it's a stretch. So, really quickly, I'm just going to twist these back around. And I'm going to twist this one back around, because we're going to just put them back for a second, kind of in planet mode, so that we can begin to do his proper transformation to robot. These gun pieces, you know, they flip all the way back and come out, flip all the way back and come out, and I guess I should use the Omega lock thing. Bring that in, and then close those up. We'll bring his legs back down in underneath, and we'll bring these up, and we'll bring, you know, this piece basically down. And yeah, okay, I don't have it fit in there perfectly right now, but it it does fit perfectly. It's just, there we go. There we go, and there, fit perfectly again. He's back in planet mode, so it's pretty easy there. So to put him into robot mode, what do we do? How do we change this gargantuan that created the Transformers into his glorious robot. Well, we kind of do the same thing that we just did. We lift this piece up, and when we lift this piece up, you can see that his legs are folded up in here, right? Here are his hips, and his knees are just down in right here, right? And we begin to open him out, and you see that his hips are coming down, his knees are coming down. Open him out. All the way. Split the legs. Bring out the little foot pieces. Take his Omega lock, stick it in the side, and turn it all the way around. The Omega lock, and stick it in the other side and turn it all the way around. Now his legs are pretty much done. You do want to push those guns out on that side, and you push in right here to push the guns out on this side, and there you go. There's his lower body really done, except for having to bend the legs around, but we will get to that in a second. Next we come to his upper body. Let's try and kind of get that all apart. And I just had one of my spires break off, I think. I'll see if I can figure out where it goes in a minute. We put this in, and we bring those out. And now you can kind of see him stood up. Now, a lot of times in aftermarket, you're going to see the legs facing this direction. These look like feet. They are not. They are actually his heel spurs. People that keep him like that don't have him transformed correctly. Watch for this. These are not his feet. You need to have these blue pieces. Why? Because his whole waist turns around to face this direction. And now you have knee pads that you can, bring out if you want. You have feet. And the feet actually have a little bit of pivot, which is nice. And you can stand him up. And yes, I know he's kind of tall and off camera at the moment. We will deal with that in a second. So what do you do next? You take these guns up top. You take the guns that are up top and you basically turn them out to the side. Let's just aim this up for a second. Those guns were facing in like this. You need to face them out like that. Whoa, and this guy's getting big. So give me a second. I'm going to try to adjust the camera to get a better angle on him. And there we go. I think that's probably a little bit better. I think that might be a little bit better. And we'll probably be able to adjust this again in a little bit. Now, you take this Omega Lock thing, and by the way, every time I use this Omega Lock, you should get a transformation sound. There should be some lights and stuff. That's been either, I guess, removed or disconnected or used out in my version, and I'm okay with that because I'm not a big gimmick guy. I'm really not. This whole section here, you put it in, and it should push up. But I find that that's easier said than done sometimes. Let me lay him down and see if I can get it to work this way. See what I mean? Like, I don't really dig this whole Omega Lock thing. Give me a moment. There. You put it in, you push it all the way up. You can tell that that's kind of challenging to do, but when you do it, these shoulder pieces come out and his head pops up. Bring the guns down over his shoulders, and now you can deal with his arms. If you haven't done so already, extend out his fists and extend out his fists, and I guess open up his hands. And in the end, you have Primus in all of his glory. Now, I think if you look on this side, you'll see right here. That spire is really short now. I think it was probably there. A shame. But again, that's kind of what you get with soft rubbery plastic, folks. That is kind of what you get with soft rubbery plastic sometimes. Okay, so we will adjust this again to see this guy in all of his glory. What can I say? Primus looks beautiful. I love the guy. He looks fantastic. His articulation, you know, the head goes left and right. It doesn't look up. It doesn't look down. The arms can go out to the side. The shoulder pads move a little bit so that his arm can really kind of swing out a nice bit. The shoulders go forward. They're not going to go back a whole lot because of planet chunks that he has, you know, on his shoulders here. There's a nice 90-degree elbow bend. There's a swivel just below the elbow. The fingers, the thumb can go back and forth. Each finger is individually articulated at every knuckle, I think. No, not the very top knuckle. But each finger is articulated. There's no wrist swivel because of the way the hand is, but his hands look kind of long and lanky, I feel like, but it, you know, whatever. The legs go way out to the sides on kind of soft ratchets. They certainly hold, they're certainly strong, but they're not so hard that it's difficult to move this guy. The legs go, you know, back a bit. They can go all the way forward. He can do high kicks all day. The knees deep, little over 90 degrees. Swivel, and even a little bit of toe tilt, which I guess is supposed to kind of count as your ankle tilt. It does help his stability, and truth is, surprisingly, I find he stands pretty well, but you got to keep in mind that a lot of times in aftermarkets, these toe pieces are missing. I consider myself very lucky that mine were not. And of course you have these guns here that can come out. They're supposed to do it with a mini com, but you can still pull them out if you want yourself and put them in. Here's Primus in all of his glory. I love the guy. So for paint apps, and of course, I should say this, like, I like the brownie gold up here. I love the silver, the different blues used, kind of ocean-esque. I love the yellows used. His face sculpt is, see if I can give you a close-up of his face sculpt. I love his face sculpt, but without the light gimmick, his eyes look really kind of dead and dark. But love the guy. Love the guy. Don't care that the light gimmick isn't there. Didn't want it anyway. Let's just straighten him up so that he stands like that. So paint apps overall, it's not quite as good as the Creator Primus. That thing is beautiful. That thing is also crazy expensive. That one you're looking at probably a 9. This one, about an 8. He's still really good. 8, 8.5. Transformation, actually pretty easy. It's too bad you have to use this thing. This thing lowers it. If you could just transform him without the Omega Lock, fine. I would give his transformation like a 9, 9.5. It's easy, but it's involved. With this thing, because I don't like it, it drops it to maybe a 7.5. Maybe a 7.5. His size, well, he doesn't scale with Voyager or Lux or Legends. Of course, he was made at a different time in a different size scale, and we're going to look at that, you know, momentarily. But again, he's huge. He's the way that he should be. How big, you know, could you actually make this guy? The fact is, he needs to be handleable. That's just the facts. To make him big enough to actually, you know, play with Voyager class or Leader class Transformers on him, well, he'd have to be the size of our planet now, wouldn't he? So I think the size works fine. I do. I would have liked him maybe in height-wise to be a little taller, but I think it works fine. Posability, playability, 9.5. He doesn't have wrist articulation. That's why I'm giving him a 9.5. The battle station mode is kind of weird, but overall, when we look at paint apps, you know, being what they are, posability, playability being like a 9.5, transformation itself, you know, by rights, I'll split the difference because I said it would be like a 9.5. Without this, it's like 7.5. With it, we'll say 8.5. Overall, Primus is a 9.5. Should you try and hunt him down? I would think so. If you're a collector, if you're a fan, come on, you're going to want Cybertron in your collection. So we're just going to take a second here now, and I'm going to just get together a couple of key comparisons that I got here, namely Titan Devastator, Metroplex, and of course his counterpart, his brother Unicron himself, and we will just look at them very briefly compared to each other, just so you can get an understanding of where this guy fits in size-wise. Okay, so after some adjustments, we're going to do a couple of quick comparisons here now as best we can. I mean, this is one of those huge bots that's difficult to keep in frame and to deal with, but we're gonna try here. So, here's Primus. He's huge. He stands about 14 inches or so tall. So if you had a Combiner Wars combiner, he's going to come up to about here, roughly, because they're about a foot tall. We have Unicron, who I'll show in a minute. But let's begin with a couple of modern day comparisons. The first one is going to be the Combiner Wars Titan class Devastator. And I don't even think all of this guy's going to fit on there. Here's a piece of the PCO7 set fell off. I've already reviewed all these guys, this entire set, and the PCO7 set. Hey, check those videos out if you haven't already. But you can see that he's certainly smaller. He comes up to about Devastator's chest, I guess. Built in a different time. This is Supreme class, this is Titan class. Could Unicron and Primus be redone as Titan class figures? Yeah, probably. And be about the same size as this guy, or even like Metroplex, Fort Max. Do I think it's needed? I'm cool with them this size, because when I have the planets battle, I'm just going to have the planets battle. You have to kind of suspend the idea that they're going to scale when you're talking about planets. I don't even know if it's possible. I don't even know if it's realistic to say that, hey, they could scale. I kind of don't think so. For another more modern comparison, though I would love if this was Fort Max just because, this is Metroplex, the Generations Metroplex, and Primus comes up to about, upper thigh, waist area, roughly he comes up to about there. So Metroplex obviously much larger, but again, I think it's okay, because if you're going to have the planets battle, obviously you wouldn't have Fort Max and Metroplex and whatnot battling alongside them, because there's no way that they could conceivably be as big. In terms of scale, well, you could have Voyagers and Deluxes and stuff battling with Metroplex, so it's nice that he can, well, not really scale well, but it's nice that at least he would be the biggest there. In other words, I don't think Primus needs to scale with those guys. But just so you know how Supreme scales with, a couple of Titans. And then the one comparison where it actually does matter how they match up, here he is with Unicron. And yeah, again, you can see that Unicron is a little bit cut off there, because guess what? Shock and awe, Unicron is a bit bigger. He's about 14 inches, Unicron's about 16 inches in height. And I think that that's okay, because you kind of want the good guy to be your underdog. You really sort of want your good guy to be your underdog when it comes to like a battle scenario on your shelf. And Primus does that while still being impressive and imposing and stately and regal. And he is all those things. Like I said, I gave him a great mark. I have him. I consider myself very fortunate to have him. I love the guy. That's just my opinion. Yours may vary, and you are certainly entitled to it. Do I suggest getting them? You bet. Anyway, that's it. 100 video reviews for the line that we all know and love. I appreciate you, stopping by and having a bit of a modern day look at this guy and how he stacks up. Thanks for watching my videos. Thanks for being, a part of my community, and thanks for being a part of the Transformers fandom. That's it. I'll call it quits here for this guy, and I look forward to the next time that you and I get together right here inside the videos.